everybody, it's Kelly from Let's Get Clacking, and in today's video we're going to go over how to sublimate something that's larger than what you're able to print. Now, just to my left I have a sequin pillow. I have a sawgrass SG400 and that only prints A4. And if you were to sublimate something that's only A4 onto this pillow, it might look a little bit lost. So what I like to do is to take 2 pages and stick them together. With the method we're going to go over today, it's going to greatly reduce the chance of you having that white line down the middle where the 2 seams overlap, and we'll show you how to do that. So let's get clacking. Alright, so we have our design in Sublimate Studio. This is something that I pulled from the design store. I pulled both the design and the pattern as well, and what I did was just inserted the pattern into the design by, clicking on the design, going to the fill section, and selecting a design. You can change it up here, you can make it all kinds of different things, but I like the other one that we had. We're going to start out by drawing a box. That's the same size as the print border. Then going to duplicate this. Then we select the one box and the one pattern. We go over to the modify panel and we click crop. We can then group all of those just so we don't lose 1 or 2 of them later down the line, which happens. All right, now we need to plan for a bit of an overlap. So the overlap should ideally be around 2 centimeters or so. You don't want a very narrow overlap or one that's going right on the edge. You want to have something like that. I mean, you could probably have it at about 1 centimeter. That should also be perfectly fine if you want to conserve ink. So let's go with about 1 centimeter, and I'm going to measure it by the top of the fin there. It's right in that crook, just to conserve ink a little bit, because we all know that sublimation ink is very expensive. All right, so now we've selected that, and now I'm going to select those 2, and I'm going to click crop so that we have the other side of the design, the side that's not matched on the one side, and group those. Now if we have to overlay them, we can see that they're an exact match. You can go in a little bit closer. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point if they're not layered exactly, because that will happen when we're pressing the design. Okay, so we have the 2 halves that we need. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to print the one, and then I'm going to move that off the page, and then I'm going to pull that one onto the page, and then I'm going to print the second one, just so that we have the 2 halves of our design. Because this is a sublimation print, we need to make sure that the mirror feature is on. The first thing we're going to do is trim it down a little bit. So we need to make sure that we cut off either that border or this border, and maybe a little bit of the excess on this side. So I'm going to trim this page. Now you see I've cut off a little bit here, so it doesn't actually matter that I've cut a little bit off, because we've got quite a bit of an overlap on this page anyway. So here's where we get out our heat tape, as we're going to be taping these together. So we need to make sure this is an exact lineup. It looks to be exact on this side. And here's where having a very detailed design comes in handy for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's very easy to line everything up to be exact. And number 2, you probably won't, if you do misalign it a tiny little bit, you probably won't notice. So what I like to do is I like to tape it a little bit on this side. We've got a little bit of white space here and a little bit of white space there. So I like to put a little bit of heat tape on this side, just because it's easier to get the alignment and then to tape the back once we flip it over. So you take a very little piece of tape, make sure that it's perfectly aligned again. This is the part in the process that you want to spend the most time getting it correct, because if this is wrong, then your design won't look very nice. It's very important to make sure that the heat tape doesn't cover any of the print. So now it's perfectly aligned on either side. We can always double check it throughout the line. And now we can flip it over and apply a little bit more heat tape from this side. You don't want to apply too much heat tape on places where you see there's print, because this already has to go through 2 layers. So especially on this section, you want to keep this as heat tape free as possible. So we take another little piece of heat tape, and here I can see that the turtle is there and the fin is there. So I can apply a small piece of heat tape just here to keep the pages together. And on this side, the fin ends there and the turtle is there. I can see it through the paper. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, so I'm going to apply a little piece of heat tape there as well. Flip it over just to double check that nothing's misaligned on this side, and it looks good. So while the heat press is warming up, we can prepare our pillow. This is the pillow. It's a pillow that I bought from JG Electronics. You can probably get them from MC Thompson, you can get them from Amazon, you can get them from lots of different places. It's so therapeutic to do this. I'm pretty sure you all know that. So this pillow has a zipper on the one side. You've got to look for it. It's actually beautifully hidden. So you can just unzip it and take the insert out. Once you have your insert out, you need to flatten the sequins and make sure they're all on the white side. The ones at the top don't matter too much, and you'll see every now and then you get one that's flipped over, so you can just do that. And if you get a stubborn one, then you can just very easily flip it over manually. So now I'm putting the seam to the bottom. As typically, as far as I know, you have the seam at the bottom of the pillow. We take our design, we put it face down onto the pillow, and now here's where you can, orient it onto the pillow, see where you want it, and you can then use some more heat tape to tape it down. Now that it's all taped down, we can move this to our heat press. So now it's a simple case of just pressing it on the heat press with firm pressure for 90 seconds at 190 or 200 degrees, and we see how it comes out. And now we pull the design off. It's very, very hot. And there we go. But that is our that is our design. How amazing is that? You can cover it up, open it out again, save the turtles. Obviously, when it comes to words and things like that, the sequins are a little bit more difficult, but they do tend to retain their shape quite well, so it does work quite nicely. Let's put the pillow in. Our perfect pillow. And especially on things like this, you wouldn't even be able to tell if there was a seam there. But if I look super, super, super closely at where we overlap the designs, I cannot even tell that there is a seam, and I'm looking very critically and very closely. Because the seam was here. It's just at the edge of the T. And it literally doesn't look like there was a seam at all. Now, you could have gone to somebody and had them print this on A3, or you could just use 2 pages and print it yourself. Save yourself a lot of time, a lot of hassle. Well, thanks very much for joining. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and learned something new about how to use your A4 sublimation printer for prints that are much larger than A4, and where they can come out flawlessly and you don't have to worry about ugly join lines right down the middle. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have something that you're struggling with that you would like me to help you with, please let me know in the comments. I'd really love to hear what kind of things you struggle with and you would love a tutorial video on. You can subscribe to my channel on this side. On this side, YouTube will show you my latest video, and just underneath that, it'll show you something that they think that you'll enjoy. Once again, thanks for watching, and please remember, be kind to someone today. See you next time.